there's almost always a bass melody that can be found, and there can be a lot of right answers to what that can be. The easiest example to give you is if I play an Alberti bass, and we all know about voicing the first note, right? Either with holding or not holding. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about, that's kind of a good example of it. I'm just going to spread it out to more of the repertoire. So there are a lot of choices to be made, but we actually have to decide something so that chaos just doesn't happen like happened in my own playing back when I didn't really understand what was going on. So we all need to create a plan of action, and I think we can teach this also to our students. So I hope this will be helpful to you. Here's what finding this bass melody can do. Drum roll, right? It can take something that looks dreadfully boring and make it compelling. Yay. It can clean up the texture. It can carve out tension between the right and left hands. It can create a gorgeous counterbalance to a right-hand melody. It can define the harmony. And really importantly is figuring out how we want to determine rhythmic impulse. So that's kind of the macro beats. Do we want them here or do we want them there? What do we want to do with those? So let's start with the WC arabesque. This is the first one. I'm going to stop there. So I'm going to share my screen with you off and on. It takes a few seconds for this to appear. So let me turn that on and we'll get to the title. And then here we go. So this is the piece we're looking at. And when we look at this, well, that's interesting. Okay, when we look at this, we see the double stems, right? So those double stems already cue us into that those notes are important. But is that it? Here's what I see, is that it's this note. So we have this gorgeous melody, right? Well, maybe it's not terribly gorgeous, but here's how I feel that. So we have this sort of scattered. So there's a lot of distance between the first two notes. And then when we get to the double stems, it becomes steadier, different rhythm. And then in this next to last bar there where I have the B, the whole thing comes to a screeching halt and we have a full measure. And because I've singled out the B, I can actually do a long pedal there. So this is another advantage of finding these things out. And then change there. So if I play to them all as equally loud, it becomes a bit of a mess. But if I single it out, so this is another, I'll show you another example of that later on, where we can actually start using super long pedals and it not really destroy the texture of the piece. And then we have this nice B to E, which is the 5-to-1. And we always want to be looking for the 5-to-1 relationships in those left-hand bass melodies because they're going to show up, even though it's not 5 in the key, but it might be a 5-to-1 relationship. So this is B to E, which is a 5-to-1 in the key of E major, but it could be two other notes as well. It could be C to F sharp, but looking for those Those are real fence posts in the way that you're going to um, set about finding your interpretation for that.